ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय जन्माद्यस्य यतो अन्वयादितरतश्च अर्थेषु अभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः. We now enter the 72nd chapter of the 10th Skandha of Bhagavatam. So we saw that Krishna came to Indraprastha, the capital of the Pandavas, to a very royal welcome. Now Shuka Brahma Rishi continues. One day when everybody was seated in the court, that is Yudhishthira is seated in the court and is surrounded by sages, by the priests, by various princes, by various entrepreneurs of the time, the businessmen, the Vaishyas, and with his brothers Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva, the gurus. And Krishna, of course, offered the high place of honor. When everybody is in the court, Yudhishthira addresses Krishna as follows. He says, O Govinda, I intend to do the Rajasuya Yajna to worship you and as well as worship all the various deities, thereby spreading dharma across the world. Please bless me with this. So we already know that Narada told Krishna that this is the intention of Yudhishthira to conduct the Rajasuya Yajna. So Krishna is aware of it, and that's exactly what Yudhishthira now verbalizes. He says, O Govinda, I would like to do the Rajasuya Yajna to worship you and to spread dharma. And he goes on to glorify Krishna by saying, after all, your lotus feet is here in my kingdom, and that is enough to destroy all evil. All the holy people worship them constantly, meditate upon them, glorify them, and thereby they attain release from bondage. They are freed of the mundane desires and attachments of life, and they live a very sublime life. Therefore, because you have blessed this kingdom, let the world also see the glory of your blessing, that one who is blessed by you, one who worships you, is given all the great needs of life and he is always secure. This shall be communicated to the whole world as well by this Rajasuya sacrifice, because after all you are the supreme being. And now he says a very beautiful verse. He says, you are the self of all, the supreme Brahman, and you are ever self-satisfied, and you have no distinction of me and other in you. And those who worship you, they are blessed by you the way that if one goes to a wish-yielding tree, one is blessed by the wish-yielding tree. The wish-yielding tree does not discriminate between who comes to the tree. Anyone who goes to the wish-yielding tree is given the boons, but yet it is only given to those who come to the tree. Another example given always is sunlight. To sunlight shines equally on all, and yet it is the one who turns his eyes towards the sun who gets the benefit of sunlight. If one shuts the curtains, then sunlight doesn't come. Similarly, Yudhishthira says, even though you have the same vision towards all, those who surrender themselves to you, those who worship you, they are bestowed your favor, your grace, and the degree of success they attain is commensurate with the amount of service they put forth. And therefore, there is no distinction from your standpoint. You remain the same, and yet people derive different levels of benedictions based on how much they are surrendered. He says, Na brahmanaha swapara bhedamatistava syat sarvatmanaha samadrishaha swasukhanubhutehe samsevatam surataroriva te prasadaha sevanurupamudayo na viparyayo atra. He says, there is no distinction in you. Swapara bhedamati tava na. There is no distinction of self and other in you. Being samadrishaha, being the one with same vision. And yet those who come to you, they get different levels of benedictions depending on how they are surrendered unto you. So Bhagavan now responds, Krishna says, he says, indeed, Yudhishthira, what you have decided to do, Rajasuya Yajna, is quite excellent. It is a very auspicious performance, and through this, your fame will extend through the whole world, and it is welcomed by all the sages, all the rishis, and even your forefathers and everyone, and it is approved by me as well. And then he says, in this way, you can conquer all the kings and bring them under control and collect all the necessary things for conducting this sacrifice. After all, your four brothers, they are like guardians of the world, they are so mighty, and you yourself are a man of wisdom and self control, and that is why you have all conquered me by your virtues. Because those who have not controlled their mind and senses, they cannot win me. Krishna says beautifully, Jitosmi Atmavata Teham Durjayo yo Akritatma Bihi. So he says, you and your brothers, because you are so regulated, your senses and mind are well regulated and in control, you have, through your surrendered mind, conquered me. So the Lord who is unconquerable, he is called Ajita, and yet he is conquered by love. So that is what Pandavas have done. That is what the gopis did. That is what all the devotees have done. They can conquer the Lord with love. Otherwise, Krishna says, one who is not surrendered, he can never realize me, what to speak of conquering me. And therefore, Krishna says, you have nothing to worry, because even the greatest of the demigods also cannot do anything to the one who is surrendered unto me. So hearing these words, Yudhishthira is very pleased, and he is cheerful, his face blooms like a lotus, and he sends his brothers to bring all the various regions under his control. So before Rajasuya sacrifice can be done, it has to be ensured that all the various regions are under the control and nobody is questioning the authority. So Yudhishthira sends Sahadeva to the south, Nakula to the west, Arjuna to the north, and Bhima to the east. They are all conquering all the quarters, and they are bringing untold riches back to Yudhishthira. But then one wrinkle remains, which is exactly what was already told to Krishna in Dwaraka, and the reason he left, which was that Jarasandha is still ruling. So this is part of the mission of getting rid of Jarasandha as well, as we already saw. So just as expected, the only wrinkle Yudhishthira faces is Jarasandha is unsubdued, and therefore Yudhishthira approaches Krishna, and Krishna knows exactly that this will be the case, because already he has thought about it and Uddhava has given the plan too. So Krishna says not to worry, Uddhava has already given this plan that Bhima can go in the guise of a Brahmana. I'll go with him. Arjuna can also go with us. So we three will go, and we will approach him for a fight, and he will normally not refuse a fight, especially if we are dressed as Brahmanas. And then in this fight, in this duel combat, Bhima can kill him. So in this way, Krishna makes this plan and then leaves with Bhima and Arjuna. And just as spoken, Krishna reaches there. All three of them are dressed as Brahmanas. And Jarasandha, as any good king, offers respect to the Brahmanas who have come to his palace and gives them the seat of honor. And then they are disguised as Brahmanas, and they have also come at the time when he normally receives guests. So they speak to him still in this guise, and they say, we are just three guests who have come from a long distance, and we have something to ask you. I'm sure you will grant us. Because they say, very beautiful verse here, they say, a person who is very tolerant bears anything, a person who is wicked does anything, a person who is generous gives anything, and the person who is equal eyed sees nothing as different from him. So the verse is Kim Durmasham Titikshunam Kim Akaryam Asadubhihi Kim Nadeyam Vadanyanam Kaf Paraha Samadarshinam. It says, what is there unbearable for the truly tolerant one? What is there undoable for the wicked one? So the wicked one, because he has no moral scruples, he will do anything. So that therefore it said, what is there that will not be done by the wicked one? What is there that will not be tolerated by the tolerant one? What is there that will not be given by the generous one? and who is there who will be seen as other by the sagely one. So, in this way, they beautifully give instruction, but also imply that because Jarasandha is generous, there is nothing he'll not give. And further, they say that after all, the body is to be meant to use for engaging in virtue, and the one who is not using the body, which is anyway impermanent, to engage it in, one who is not rather engaging it in earning virtue is wasting it. You already know of so many great examples of those who have earned virtue, whose fame is unsullied, and they give the example of Harishchandra, Rantideva, Bali, and so on. So we saw all these characters already. Harishchandra, the one who never spoke a lie. Rantideva, who gave away everything. We saw these both kings in the ninth skandha. And then Bali, who came in the eighth skandha, who gave his own head to the Lord as Vamana. So they've all given out of generosity. I'm sure you will also give. Meanwhile, Jarasandha is suspecting now because these three, the way they speak and also their forearms are revealed, though they have covered themselves, their forearms are looking very strong, and it has the calluses of holding the bowstrings and so on. So he knows that these are probably not Brahmanas, they are actually warriors. And he also sees a certain resemblance in them, but they are well disguised. In any case, he reflects to himself, he says, these may be warriors, but they have actually taken the guise of Brahmanas out of fear of me, perhaps. And if they are afraid of me, then what is there for me to be afraid of them? And also, he remembers the story of Bali again. He says, Bali, after all, when Vamana came in the guise of a Brahmana, Bali gave everything to him and his glory is still sung. He even ignored his guru Shukracharya, and he gave away earth, heaven, and his own self, and therefore he acquired unsullied fame. So when Bali did this, then what is the problem in me doing it? If after all the body is going to perish one day, the true warrior is one who does not fear anything, but who simply does what is right with great valor. So, in this way, Jarasandha reflected and said, O Brahmanas, you can seek whatever you desire, I will give you. So, now Krishna reveals himself as well as the other two, and he says, we are not Brahmanas. We have not come here seeking any charity from you. We are actually coming here in search of combat. So if it pleases you, grant us the boon of combat, a one-on-one combat with either of us. So Krishna knows that he'll only pick Bhima, but he just gives him the choice. And he says, this is Bhima, the son of Kunti, and this is Arjuna, and I am Krishna. And then they reveal themselves. Now Jarasandha laughs loudly because Jarasandha already suspected that these are not Brahmanas but they are Kshatriyas. So he laughs, and especially so because he thinks Krishna ran away from him afraid. As we can recall, Krishna decimated his troops 17 times, and the 18th time Krishna pretended like he ran away from him from Mathura all the way to Dwaraka. So Jarasandha still remembers that and he thinks that Krishna is afraid. So he says, Krishna, I'll not fight with you because you ran away like a coward. You abandoned the city of Mathura and went to Dwaraka. And Arjuna, he is very junior to me and he is not great in one-on-one combat with wrestling. So my equal is Bhima, so I'll fight with him. So here again we see the valor of Jarasandha too, because Jarasandha wanted to find someone who is equal to him. We see how such qualities are there even in the evil kings, that they held combat to be something that has to be done on a equal basis and so on. So such qualities also are not present anymore. But even as an evil king, Jarasandha wanted to have his own match in the fight, and therefore he picked Bhima. And then they both went to the arena where the fight will happen. And there was a huge arena, and suddenly everything was announced, and there's a huge audience that came naturally to see this rare fight between two massive warriors. And so they both took a mace to strike each other, and this is a huge mace that they are both huge men. We cannot even imagine because they are huge in size. Bhima is considered so huge and so is Jarasandha. They are as strong as elephants, as already mentioned. So they fight each other with great valor, striking each other like a thunderbolt. They are moving left and right. It's almost like a dance because they are so gracefully moving towards each other, away from each other, maneuvering for position. It's like two dancers are engaging in a fight in a very graceful way, and there is rattling noise that comes each time the maces hit each other. It's like like two elephants who are bumping their tusks against each other. And it is said that the maces, after a while, got crushed into powder because they were hitting each other with so much force that the maces themselves were reduced to pulp, and they fell down. And then they took to hand combat. They had fists hard as steel, and they fought very fiercely, blow, landing blows on each other, and each blow sounded like a thunder was striking. And they were matched with each other in strength, valor, power, and there was unabated violence between the two, and yet the contest remained undecided. And it is said that, very surprisingly, this contest went on for 27 days. So every day the contest will happen from morning to dusk, rather, and at dusk they will part. But the most amazing thing is they will still socialize in the nights. So this is again a rare thing. We don't see such things now, where two enemy troops, they fight, but then they actually socialize in the evenings when the fight is over. Even two sporting teams don't do that. Rarely they do. But here we see such principles of dharma established, which are all gone now, where two warriors, even, who are fighting for life and death during the day, and yet they socialize like friends in the evening. So in this way they fought for 27 days. And then Bhima on the 28th morning approaches Krishna and says, "This fight is going on forever, Krishna, and I'm unable to overthrow this Jarasandha. We are equal." So Bhima is not going to lose, but he's also not able to win. So now Krishna reveals the secret. He was waiting for this, for Bhima to approach him, because Bhima was initially puffed up with his own pride that he can conquer Jarasandha. Krishna knew that's not possible. And when Bhima himself realized it, he surrendered to Krishna fully. And then Krishna knew the secret of Jarasandha's power. So Jarasandha, as already mentioned earlier, he was united as two parts. So two parts of him were united to form Jarasandha, it is said. So the way to kill him is to split him into two parts and throw him on opposite sides. So this is the only way he can be killed. No other way can his life be taken. So Krishna tells Bhima, Krishna doesn't reveal it in words because he wants Bhima to be very alert while fighting. So when the fight is going on, Krishna takes a twig and then he splits it into half and throws it on either side, opposite sides. So seeing this, Bhima understands what needs to be done. So as the fight is going on the 28th day, once this sign is given by Krishna, then Bhima suddenly pushes him down to the ground, presses his foot on one of his foot, that is one leg of Jarasandha is held tight to the ground by Bhima pressing him down with his leg, and then he lifts up his other leg with his hand, and then he literally tears him apart. He tears him apart into two, and Jarasandha is split into two, and not only that, he is taking the two parts because he has this rare boon that they can combine together again. So he tears them apart and puts them in opposite directions so that they cannot combine. So in this way, Jarasandha is killed, and there was a great outcry among his subjects when he was killed, but great benedictions and blessings by the sages and all the other good beings of the region, and thereby Jarasandha was killed as prophesied by Bhimasena with the help of Krishna. And then Bhimasena embraced Krishna and embraced Arjuna too. And then after that, they all release the kings that were arrested. So we already saw that was how the message came to Krishna, that he had arrested thousands of kings and kept them captive. So now to fulfill the mission, Krishna with Bhima and Arjuna enter the palace and release the thousands of kings who are all kept captive for a long time, so that they are all set free. And then Krishna and Arjuna and Bhima return to Hastinapur, or return to Indraprastha. And that's how this chapter ends. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.